Hey podcaster, I'm Tim Wahlberg, your podcast performance coach, with another actionable tip so you can sound like a pro and gain more podcast fans. Today's tip is make sure your podcast serves your business if it's supposed to be a marketing tool. A lot of solopreneurs and business owners fall in love with podcasting and think, I gotta get in on this game. Everybody's podcasting. Well, the first thing they do is come up with a podcast idea. That is, number one, like the podcast they love to listen to, or just like what their competition is doing. Or number two, just decide that them talking is a great way to show who they are. This might work, but if you're podcasting for your business, I think we can do better than that. First, you need a plan. You need to know before you start who you're talking to. Hint, it's your ideal customer. And how you can best serve them with your podcast. Now, if your goal is to sell more widgets, you still need to make your podcast about the people who buy your widgets, not your widgets. Think about it. Would you listen to a 30-minute long commercial? The second thing you need to do is to figure out how your podcast is going to reflect you or your brand properly. You don't want to be like everyone else. Your business has a unique selling proposition, right? Your podcast needs to reflect that. You ever watch Pimp My Ride with Exhibit? Talk about injecting personality and style into something. He did it with cars. You got to do it with your podcast. And finally, in my way too short list, because this is a 5-minute podcast list of how to start a podcast for your business, is to make sure that you have a call to action. I can't tell you how many podcasts I've heard or podcasters I work with who just end their show with, "See you next week." See you next week is not a call to action. The most important part of marketing is making sure that people know how to say yes to what you have to offer. You need to show them the next step past passive podcast listener. That could be becoming a subscriber, connecting on another platform like social media or your email list, or it could be, let me think about this one, buying your stuff. Some people are uncomfortable asking. They're uncomfortable with adding a call to action. It's like they think they've been tricking people into thinking all along that they're just benevolently creating a podcast. Your podcast listeners aren't stupid. They know you have a business, or at least I hope they do. So if they know you have a business and they've made it to the end of your podcast, then we can assume that they like you or what you had to say. So doesn't it make perfect sense that you tell them how to continue to work with you? Isn't that the nice thing to do? Have a call to action. I'm not saying you have to do a hard sell here. I'm just saying make sure that they know how to go beyond the podcast listener level of interest in what you do. For more on how to execute a good call to action, listen to episode number 39, How to End Your Podcast Right. Okay, so to recap, if you're creating a podcast as a marketing tool for your business, then you need to make sure it serves your ideal customer and it's on brand, and that it stands out from the crowd, and that you have a way for your listener to become a customer. Your business podcast can be an amazing way to increase brand exposure, grow your authority in a space, improve that know, like, and trust factor, and drive sales for your business. But only if you have a plan for it to do all those things from the start. And I hope that's just the tip you need. Now, if you've already got a podcast for your business and you're thinking, oh crap, I didn't do any of those things before I started. Don't despair. You can still fix it, and I can help. I have a 6-week podcast rescue program where I coach you personally to redesign your podcast to better serve your ideal audience and be a more effective marketing tool. It all starts with a free 15-minute phone call. Go to podcastperformancecoach.com and book your no-obligation call today. I'm Tim Wahlberg. See you.